Mr. President, distinguished senators, the issue of political witch hunt have been there trending against the EFCC since its inception. When the EFCC came on board, certain political party was in government, but I'm aware that members of that political party were also investigated and charged to court. Currently, another political party is in power, and members of that political party were also investigated and charged to court. When it comes to the issue of trial in court, the way we operate in the EFCC, distinguished senators, is that at the end of every investigation, files are being sent to legal department to vet and see whether or not the investigation warrants any prosecution in court, whether the report has adduced in it points to prove an offense beyond reasonable doubt, before the lawyers prefer charges and of course file in court, for them to go and defend what they said that they have found. And as I said, we are not perfect, but during answering some of my previous questions, I do state here, and I stand to be challenged by everybody, that we have 90% success rate on matters that we have charged to court. On the issue of media trial, we have a responsibility as a commission to enlighten the general public regarding our activities as a commission, as an agency of government saddled with the responsibility of investigating economic and financial crimes. Matters that are in court, Mr. President, distinguished senators, are already in the public domain. The press have the right, like indeed any other Nigerian or even non-Nigerians, to demand for those records and print them, either on print or electronic media. So it is not within our purview or control to tend to determine which matter that is in court can be published and which matter cannot be published. On the issue of young age to withstand pressure, when my appointment was announced last Tuesday, an elderly man advised me, and he said, Malam Bawa, you are now 40 years old. Even if you succeed, unlike any of your predecessors, and serve 2 terms, you are still going to be 48. And he reminded me that you will still be too young. And he said that I have a very long future ahead of me. I am a human being, I'm not perfect, but I assure you, Mr. President and distinguished senator, I'm going to discharge my duties without fear or favor, without any ill will, with the conscience of the fact that I'm a human being, that after this life, I will die. And after my death, there will be judgment and there will be sentence. I only hope and pray that I and my colleagues will be able to discharge this onerous responsibility that has been bestowed on us. Senator Mohammed Sani Musa asks about my relationship with the former acting chairman, Mr. Ibrahim Mago. I have a very cordial relationship with him. I was never arrested, I was never detained by him. In fact, during the week of my nomination and to date, he even called me on phone to congratulate me for this appointment. I maintain relationship with all my predecessors, God willing, if confirmed by this Senate. I'm in contact with all of them. for consultations and for advice when the need arises. So I do have a very cordial working relationship with him. Senator Bulkachua and Senator Yayi asks on the issue of recovered assets and whether or not what is recovered is being remitted to the government, and also what happened to such properties. The EFCC is not only serving the public, it also serves the private sector. And recoveries are made both for the public or for the government, and of course, for individuals in the private sector. As I said during my presentation, that the Lagos Zonal Office recovered over 10.9 billion last year. All of that money does not belong to the government, either federal government or state government. Federal government as victims have their own share of the money, so also the Lagos state government, so also Ogun state government, so also various individuals, corporate entities. So anytime an EFCC chairman do mention about the recoveries he made, he mentioned about everything that he has recovered, either for the government or for the public sector. Or for the private sector. So yes, somebody may think that yes, EFCC has said that they have recovered 1 trillion. Then they will go to the EFCC recovery account, and then they will see only 900 million, and then they will ask, why is 100 million? So those are some of the disparities that I hope, God willing, we are going to digitalize the process, we are going to be transparent, we are going to show accountability on everything that we do going forward. Senator Bulkachua more or less asks regarding the issues of properties, etc. In the EFCC, we have a full-fledged directorate of asset for future and recovery management. A full-fledged directorate with directors, with director at the headquarters, as well as offices in all the zonal offices of the EFCC that manage assets on interim for future orders, as well as on final for future orders before disposal or being handed over to their victims. We are working on that. We are working on digitalization of the process. We are working on putting the records up to date. The government, even as we speak, are working on that as well. And more so because we already have a federal government committee that is working regarding all these assets. Very soon, I believe, Nigerians will know about that and benefit that they can derive from such properties. Senator Suleiman Kwari asks about how I'm going to conduct internal self-cleansing of the EFCC. Here also, Mr. President, distinguished senators, we have a full-fledged Directorate of Internal Affairs that police the officers of the EFCC. And of course, we are going to work on that. We are going to reposition it so that the directorate is going to be proactive rather than reactive when somebody is writing one complaint or another against any erring staff of the commission. So the self-cleansing is going to commence with working regarding repositioning of that department, as well as ensuring that everybody get the message clear. Distinguished Senator Abdullahi Adamu asked about one thing that I feel that I can do differently. And that thing is leading by example, sir. Leading by example. I've always done that with all sense of modesty in all the bits and zones that I have handled. I've never been in office a minute after 8 except if something happened. Not that I cannot come in 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, but I try to, as much as possible, to ensure that I am leading the pack. And that is an area where I feel that I'm going to make difference as the next executive chairman, if confirmed, not only on coming to the office early or late, but in all ramifications regarding what is expected of an ideal EFCC operative, detective, or prosecutor, and indeed a staff of the EFCC. And thank you very much, Senator Oluremi, for the motherly advice you gave earlier on. Thank you, sir.
Senator